And they have found that turkey tail, period, when added with chemotherapy, it decreased cancer rates and increased survival rates in people who basically took turkey tail. So we're saying that it also targets breast cancer cells. And so in fact, it inhibits the growth in several cancers. I mean,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
breast, liver, prostate, colon, leukemia, ovarian, gastric, cervical, lung, and brain cancer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brewer Report. Thank you again for joining us. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really pushes us out into the YouTube algorithm and allows us to be discovered by brand new people and a brand new audience, those who just may not know who we are. And that will just continue to expand our community. But thank you to everyone who is here with us. Today, we are going to talk about the powerful benefits of mushrooms. Now, there are a lot of mushrooms. There's hundreds of them, but we will talk about a few today. And who knows, down the line, we may revisit this subject. But today, we are going to talk about a few that we uh, truly recommend. Now, mushrooms are a part of Dr. Furman's. You've heard us mention him many times. Dr. Furman's G-Bombs diet, which is just a nutritional guide for you to help you to live or to eat optimal type of diet. So the G-Bombs diet, the acronym is greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So today we are talking about the mushrooms, and we look forward to you hearing all there is about it. It can help with your immunity. It can help maybe prevent certain cancers, your brain health, just your overall health. So this will be an exciting episode. Now, Dad, you want to kick it off for us? You want to talk about why certain people tend to live longer, or those who eat mushrooms tend to live longer? Explain that to us.
Okay, so it's good to just let people know. So what are mushrooms? Mushrooms are fungus. And as Stacey said, there are hundreds. In fact, there are over 14,000 species, some of which are poisonous. Luckily, our food supply doesn't have any of those. However, they do grow in the wild. So avoid picking mushrooms and definitely don't let your children pick them. The good news is they're a source of various medicines. In fact, a lot of our prescription drugs are sourced through mushrooms. So we've known for years and decades the medicinal benefits of mushrooms. So, what is mushroom consumption lead to? A longer life, less death rates, okay, less cancer rates, less heart disease. And something that was very inspiring is that it also improves cognition. So, why is mushroom consumption associated with such great stuff? Because it has an amino acid called ergothioneine. Ergothioneine has antioxidant and cyto or cell protective properties. In fact, when it was first discovered, it was called the longevity vitamin because of all of the health benefits. Now, ergothioneine is not just in mushrooms; it's also in wheat bran and beans. But mushrooms have the highest concentration of ergothioneine. And so it's associated, obviously, with reduced mortality, but also decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. And it also crosses what they call the blood-brain barrier, which means it gets into your brain. In Singapore, people who consume more than 2 servings of mushrooms per week had less than half the odds of suffering from mild cognitive impairment.
That's
10,000
good.
elderly Japanese citizens who consumed mushrooms 3 or more times per week had a significantly lower risk of developing dementia over a period of 6 years. Now, ergothioneine does decline after age 60. So that's why it's extremely important for people like me at my grand old age of 78 to add more ergothioneine
Mhm.
mushrooms to my diet. Now, which mushrooms are the highest? porcini mushrooms and oyster mushrooms have the highest concentration of ergothioneine. Now, I know porcini is kind of hard to find. In fact, you have to buy them dried, and I get mine from Whole Foods and several other grocery stores, but you can also get them online. But you can get oyster mushrooms just about anywhere.
Yeah, and they're good.
That's how I get my ergothioneine into my diet.
Nice. And oyster mushrooms are extremely popular. A lot of people online have a ton of oyster mushroom recipes. They make gyros, they make fried oyster mushrooms to try to make it taste like some fried chicken. I think me and my dad did that once. Let's keep it real. We made that oyster burger. It was good. Yeah, to me, it kind of tasted like, well, my mom felt it tasted like calamari, actually. But it can give you a sensation of, I guess, some type of fried chicken or maybe
You got to
calamari.
season it right. Just gotta season.
Yeah, you have to season it right, Seasoning is everything. Now, we know that stomach or is there more you wanna talk about with,
Well, we can get into cancer when you're ready.
okay, well, let's move on to turkey tail. So, we know that stomach cancer is huge in Japan, apparently. So they are heavy with using turkey tail as actually, I guess, in combination with chemotherapy when someone may have cancer. In addition, China does the same thing. So tell us more about this particular science or the studies behind turkey tail.
Yeah, well, turkey tail mushrooms are kind of a berry color. In fact, that's the technical name for them. Is that they're called a Tramates versicolor. If you see them, they look like little rainbows in the wild. They grow on wood when you see them in the wild, and they have some compounds in them that inhibit cancer growth. And what they found was in China and Japan, when they added the compounds from turkey tail to chemotherapy, what they call an adjuvant therapy. In other words, chemo plus the mushrooms, the stomach cancer rate survival increased from 47 to 65%. And they have found that turkey tail period, when added with chemotherapy, it decreased cancer rates and increased survival rates in people who basically took turkey tail. So we're saying that it also targets breast cancer cells. And so in fact, it inhibits the growth in several cancers. I mean,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
breast, liver, prostate, colon, leukemia, ovarian, gastric, cervical, lung, and brain cancer. So turkey tail is this elixir, if you will, in terms of among mushrooms. Now, obviously, if you're going to add turkey tail to your diet regimen, and we'll talk about some sources for that. If you're going to add turkey tail to your regimen, especially if you are a cancer patient, you have to talk to your oncologist because it really works best with chemotherapy for actually fighting cancer. But on preventing cancer, obviously, you can just incorporate it into your diet.
Right, and always talk to your healthcare providers. We always start the show with that. We didn't this time, but that's a given with anything, any type of diet you start.
Absolutely, and reishi mushrooms also target breast cancer. I mean, we can go on and on. Like we said, there's so many uh, mushrooms out here, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we do in terms of trying to make sure we get all of these mushrooms into our diet. But another one is lion's mane. Lion's mane has also been associated with improving memory, especially in older adults with mild cognitive impairment, and may even support nerve regeneration, making it a focus of Alzheimer's. Now, I'll be honest with you, that research is ongoing. That has not been uh, fully vetted yet. But the bottom line is, when you think about mushrooms, try to get as many of them into your diet as possible.
Right, right. And now let's talk about now you mentioned the reishi mushrooms, that those, I've heard, I've never seen them in person, but I've heard that they can be hard as a rock. So, it probably is best that we're gonna talk later about certain products you can buy to try to incorporate that particular mushroom into your diet. But before we go there, how would you suggest people cook mushrooms? Because some people try to eat mushrooms raw, but that's may not always be the best thing, right?
Yeah, mushrooms have something called a garatine, which is a toxin. All plants have something that's trying to protect them, so they don't want you to eat them. So they have a garatine.
Wait, shout out to the vegans. Look,
As it turns out, is not as toxic as people think. But most nutritionists, top nutritionists, will recommend that you cook. Don't eat raw mushrooms. Eat cooked mushrooms. Um, and Dr. Greg at nutritionpacks.org says, okay, fine. The best way to let's say you boil them. If you boil them, the garatine only goes down into the water. So they really doesn't neutralize it. To really neutralize them, he says, best thing to do is just microwave them for a minute or so and then cook them. I basically put mine in a steamer and I steam mine so I don't worry about that garatine coming through the steam because the steam is going to fall down into the water. I don't use the water. But if you want to use, like a lot of people like to saute them and put them with their onions, etc.
that's me.
And I'm
Yeah.
a full confession.
You don't like mushrooms.
Yes, I don't like the texture of mushroom.
Which I was shocked when I saw that. I was like, wait a minute. As much as you're telling me to eat mushrooms,
Yeah, but I put them in my smoothies.
that's why you smoothie them every day.
Is I steam my white button mushrooms. We need to talk about white button mushrooms.
Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about
I
those.
put them in my smoothie.
Oh my goodness. I'm learning more and more that my dad doesn't like the texture or something of a lot of foods. That's why he literally blends everything.
He will make guys that rubber.
Reason-
I won't mention a certain product that's made out of mushrooms, but boy, no,
Mycelium.
all
Now,
there be meat.
but look, now that we know more about mycelium, that particular brand, I don't even know if you're really getting the benefits anyway. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I just don't like the texture. I don't like rubbery stuff. That's all it is. I don't like it.
Hey, no, actually, that brings up another point. I heard another researcher mention this that in many ways that's why mushrooms aren't as popular in the Western world as they are on the Eastern world because of just the look of mushrooms for some people, the maybe even the taste, the texture, it can be slimy, and as you said at the top, some are poisonous, so we just kinda have a funny relationship, it seems, with mushrooms here on the Western side in America. But as you said, figure out a way to put them in your diet because they are extremely beneficial. And you mentioned the white button mushrooms and you mentioned Gregor. Gregor actually, based off of the studies he has read, because he reads a lot of studies and he shares it with his audience. And he has found that white button mushrooms, which are more readily available, because I recognize not everyone lives in a metropolitan area. Some people live in food deserts. So, white button mushrooms, according to Gregor, which should be at your grocery store, can be quite beneficial for your breast health, maybe even preventing breast cancer, particularly if during the day at some point you drink matcha green tea, which we've discussed in previous episodes. So you get your white button mushrooms, as my dad said, heat them up in the microwave briefly, saute them or steam them, and incorporate them into your diet in some kind of way. Maybe put them in the smoothie, as my dad says, if you just can't take the texture. But that is what Gregor has said about white button mushrooms. Now, we talked about all these different mushrooms. What products? Because now what's becoming popular are mushroom powders. So, what products do you recommend with that?
Well, we like the Real Mushrooms brand, and we use 5 Defenders. In fact, I take a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of 5 Defenders and put it into my green tea, going back to the green tea plus mushrooms equals reduced risk of cancer. So I blend it into my matcha green tea now. Now it has 5 key mushrooms, including the turkey tail that we've already talked about. So it has the reishi, it has the shiitake, it has maitake, and it has chaga. Reishi, called the longevity mushroom, supports the immune function. Shiitake, heart health and immune boosting. Maitake, some anti-cancer benefits, and chaga, which is high in antioxidants. And of course, cordyceps is another one, which is supports energy and athletic performance. So we get all that in 1 teaspoon
Right.
as a powder.
And we forgot about one particular thing, though, that I heard a researcher mention. And the reason why Five Defenders is also good is because the mushrooms are organic and they have been, what is it, hot water extracted?
Hot water extracted, yes.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about why that's important. So when you're buying your mushrooms, make sure you see that on the label.
Yeah, you want it to be hot water extracted because you want to get all of the benefits from the mushrooms, especially the ergothioneines and all of those things from it. And you want the fruiting body. That's
Yeah, the
another key
fruiting
thing.
body. Yeah.
The mushrooms have the stems and all of that stuff. You want the fruiting body, which is the actual body of the mushroom, because that's where all of the health benefits are. And so that's why you have to have that. And so, and you want it to be water. You don't want it to be extracted in some kind of chemical way because then it gets to the point where you can't get all of the it kills the efficacy of the mushroom. So when you water extract it, you get all of the ergothine and you get all of the benefits from it.
Right, and that's why Five Defenders is a good brand, because honestly, again, mushroom powder has become extremely popular, like I said, and so a lot of companies are using mycelia, I think it's called mycelium, and because it's cheaper that way, but, you just wanna make sure you don't see that too much on the label, because with the mycelium, I think you're getting mostly at what is it, like, the grains and, like, the way
You're
it's
not getting as much of the benefit out of it. That's the
right,
key. And even though Fiber Defenders is about, $30 for what looks like a small pack, you get a 45-day supply, which is about 77 cents a day. So it's a decision you have to make about your health. Do you want to spend 77 cents a day on something that's really going to benefit you or not? We do. Like I said, I put it in my matcha green tea. Of course, I also put the porcinis and the other mushrooms into the smoothies. Smoothies is always a good way to do it. And you can steam your white button mushrooms and put them in there. And
right,
so
and you start somewhere, because if you
you
can't
gotta start
afford
somewhere.
right, if you can't afford the 5 Defenders at this point, you can always save up for it, but start somewhere, like I said. White button mushrooms have some benefits, but if you can, go to your Asian markets and try to find some shiitake, maitake, porcini. I believe porcini is likely available at Whole Foods. But, you start somewhere. Just incorporate mushrooms into your diet, but we absolutely recommend, these powders because you're getting a lot of these high quality mushrooms that we've been talking about all in one.
Yeah, go back to what we said. People who eat mushrooms live longer. Period. It enhances your immune system. It's good for your cardiovascular system. And a lot of studies now are showing that it's good for your because it crosses the ergothioneine crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's good for your brain. You're going to end up with fewer people with dementia and Alzheimer's, etc. So, I mean, it is clearly something that you have to incorporate into your diet. You just have to find a way to do it.
And also, there was, a researcher I heard who said that they are finding that some of these mushrooms, I believe it was turkey tail, or maybe it was reishi, was one of these hyacinth mushrooms can attack, I think it was both actually, can attack the stem cells of cancer, which is very important because that tends to be a problem even during chemotherapy. So, again, mushrooms, I would incorporate that in your diet if you can, and always talk to your doctor.
Absolutely, and the studies on turkey tail mushrooms is just phenomenal. I mean, it's just phenomenal, for those of you out there that have especially have cancer. It's clearly something you gotta talk to your oncologist about to try to include it into your into your therapy.
Right, they may shy away from you and, taking a supplement like A5 Defenders, but again, talk to them about it, and like I said, if anything, you can at least do I don't think they would have a problem with you taking the whole foods, but, again, talk to your doctors, and some of you may have allergies, but those are things that you would know, but yeah, talk to your doctor.
Yeah. And one more thing is, I think, I don't know if we emphasize it, cooking your mushrooms, by the way, makes them more digestible, and because mushrooms have such thick cell walls.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you wanna make
Yeah,
sure you're eating them, cooked for another reason, because you want to digest them. So make sure that's another
absolutely.
reason to cook them.
Right, and you can make mushroom soup. But again, microwave the mushrooms briefly first, then you can put them in your soup. You don't want the bad stuff in your water. Saute them up, make your mushroom tacos. I have roasted them. My dad says he steams them, put them in your smoothies. So, that's a wrap up again on how you can incorporate it in your diet. One last note is if you want to test to see how maybe mushrooms are maybe improving your immunity health, you can, as you always should, at least every year, go get your blood work done. Check your immunity levels, which would be your white blood cell counts, and go from there. Just to, like do it pre you incorporating mushrooms in your diet, and then maybe consider doing it after you've incorporated mushrooms into your diet, just to see if you are getting the benefits. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. As they said, it's the longevity that mushrooms are gonna. I mean, they're covering so many bases in terms of your health. Until obviously one of them is your immune system.
Right,
Again,
and which goes down as you get older. Yeah.
right? Absolutely, and that's why the ergothioneine goes down as you get older. So there's that immunity link there. That's why you have to add more and more. That's why I'm adding more and more high ergothioneine mushrooms to my diet, which is obviously the porcini and the oyster mushrooms. So I'm going to start doubling it up at 78, almost 79. I know I'm gonna have to double it up, and so that's why I'm adding more and more to my diet to make sure that it enhances my longevity, my mental health, obviously my cardiovascular health, and to prevent cancer.
Yes. Well, I feel this has been a great show. I feel we've truly have served our purpose of just spreading the knowledge. We really have a passion for wanting people to live their best lives and their healthiest life. Any other statements you want to make?
Oh, eat your mushrooms. If you like it, steam them and put them in your smoothie.
Right. If you don't like the taste, you put it on less food.
Extra. Steam them and put them in your smoothie.
No, I can't front. Smoothies can cover up a lot of things, and then you can still get the benefits. So it's a good little tip. But thank you everybody for joining us again for another episode of the Brewer Report. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and share. And we will see you next week. Peace.